Alright guys, welcome to the review of the BioLite BaseCharge 600. It's a 622 watt hour system and has a lithium ion battery. Has several unique ports that I'll get into, of course, and a few other different features including wireless charging. And this is, I believe, the first power station from BioLite, so it's cool to see that they're also getting on board with the portable power station setup. And back here we have their solar panel. This is just called the SolarPanel 100 from them, and it's a very thin panel that you'll clearly see once I get into testing, but it also has quite a few unique features. Has a super long cable to connect to the power station, as well as 3 different USB cables or ports and 2 legs. So I'll go ahead and start with the solar charging, and then I'll test all of the outputs and go over the screen of this system after doing the solar test. With the solar panel set up, I'm going to take the large cable it came with, and I'm just going to plug it in to the front portion of the power station, and I'll just turn the camera around to give you a closer look. This is the cable, and we'll go ahead and plug it in here. Make sure the red aligns up with the red, and then we'll take a look at the screen after I go ahead and plug it in. 65. The most we got, I think, is 72, and I don't know if I was able to film that part, but that was right when I plugged it in. But I'm going to adjust the panel because it's not directly facing it. There's some other things I could do, so I'm going to go ahead and make some changes, but let me just show you what it looks like right now. So there it is. And there's some grass covering the front, the bottom front of the panel. So, and plus the angle, the sun is like more this way, so I have to turn the panel. So I'm gonna do that now and then show you guys how much we're getting. It's looking a decent amount better at that. Well, I got it pretty good. I might need to tilt those back in a bit, but let's see how we do. The battery capacity is still up there. I think it's like 70-something%, so that could affect the amount of power coming through. Okay, I just saw 72, and then it's like adjusting a ton. 77, 8, 78. I really hope you guys can see that. Yes, 78, 79 I saw for a second. Now, the battery is at 77%. We got a good angle on the panel. I wouldn't doubt it if it could get to 80 on this day, because the factors that are potentially limiting it, if any, are the battery's already pretty charged. It could affect the charge controller, but right now it's pulling in a good 77, 78. The bottom is on this plank, so there's no obstruction. Another potential area of improvement that I could work on is just cleaning these panels off. They might be a little dusty. I think I saw some other kind of muck on them. You can't really see it here, but there might be some just crap on there, but we're still looking good. Let me check here again, and it's pretty consistent here, 77. And in addition, this cord is extremely long. I think it's the longer than my Eleganta solar panel one, which was like 10 feet or something. So well, I mean, that's definitely losing power because it's such a long cord. So yeah, this panel's pushing it. So while the cloud coverage is on and off, I'm gonna go ahead and charge the Sherpa again, doing USB-C to USB-C. This one has a 45 watt maximum USB-C. So I'm gonna go ahead and see how much I can get from this. I don't think it'll get 45 watts just because the sun has fluctuated so much. It's plugged in. All right, we got 38, 39 watts. The sun isn't completely free of the clouds, but it's getting there. It's pretty close. 38 watts is pretty dang good for up to a 45 watt output, and that's pretty high. So we're at 39. That's pretty high for a 100 watt solar panel. So yeah, 39, 38 watts. I'm fine with that. I'm sure it can get higher, but yeah, I'm getting pretty sweaty out here already. It's only been like 15 minutes, so we'll go ahead and take this out. I'm using the USB-C cable, and it's charging my Sherpa power bank. As the screen is not like that, it's just the way the thing's recording, but it's giving out good 62 watts, it says, and the Sherpa's taking in about 58. But I do like how the light for the USB, I think it's for all of the different ports, even the charging port, they all have this little horizontal green light, and you could easily see it even when the sun's beating down on you, and that is actually pretty rare, and so that's actually a really nice light. Alright, so we're going to begin the USB port charging and the output test for the most part, and then of course this USB-C is also an input, but we have a USB-C here. All these three are outputs, and then this is an in and out, of course, as it says here. I'm just going to plug in this one USB-A to charge this Jackery power bank. Now it's pretty much fully charged, but it could probably take a few watts just to top off. So I'm just going to turn on the button, and then you'll see the output. And then of course you saw that there was a little, actually I'll do it again. So it says USB off, and I think it just said USB on when I turned it on. Yeah, so we have 6 watts coming out, charging this up, and you can see it's saying it's charging. So this could be limited because of how close to fully charged this is. Alright, so here's the USB-C cord. Both ends are USB-C, and hopefully we can get at least 60 watts. This is a common thing, I think, with USB-Cs. There we go. Okay, now it's charging my laptop. That's fluctuating around 50 watts. Alright, now I'm just going to see about these USB-As. I'm just going to plug my phone in. My phone's already plugged in, and it's filming right now, so we'll just see how much I can get. 6 watts, 7 watts. Then I'll go ahead and plug in my Jackery power bank, which is inputting about 6 to 7 watts as well. Make sure that these can both work together. And yes, both are charging. I'll charge my earbuds here, which only take about a watt or two, I think, to charge, or I'll just plug it into this USB-C here. Okay, it's charging. So all 3 of these are charging and getting about 15 watts. The USB section is looking pretty good. Got a okay test. I wasn't able to test the maximums out of these by any means, but we got to see just making sure that they all work and that they can work together as well. Below, I have my EcoFlow River Max, and the reason why I have this one is because it is the only power unit I have other than this BioLite system I'm testing that has the 100 watt USB-C, and this is just an output, not an input. So I'm going to use this to go ahead and input into the 100 watt input on the BioLite. So let's go ahead and test that out. So I have the USB section ready to go, have the cable plugged into the other one. Now let's see if we can just go ahead and plug it right in. Hopefully it'll be the right function, but we'll see. Charger connected. Now let's see what it's reading first. Great, it's acting as an input, which is what I wanted. And it's getting about 54 watts of input. The main thing is that it's just not doing the 100 watts of input like I was expecting right off the bat. So I'm not sure why this is the case. I don't know if it has to do with the BioLite or the EcoFlow River, or maybe both of them. It could even be this cord, which maybe is only capable of 60 watts maximum, because this cord actually came with a USB adapter for the wall, and it was a 60 watts maximum one. So maybe I need to adjust my cords. So let me see if I can find something that would work. Alright, so I found another USB-C, and this one actually came with the EcoFlow River, so maybe this one could output 100 watts that we're looking for. Plug it in here and see if we can get some power, some more than what we had earlier. Okay, and it immediately stopped at 54, and on the EcoFlow it's 56 once again. So I don't know why, but maybe it's because the EcoFlow is at 59% battery. Maybe that's affecting the actual like amperage or voltage that it's allowing to come out of it. But right now we're only at 54, 55 watts, and it's not letting me go any higher. So fortunately, haven't reached that full 100 watt potential. But it could be due to something with my testing. Maybe there was an error, so I'm not quite sure, but wasn't able to get the actual 100 watts like I was hoping for. So we're going to begin with the AC output test, and you can see here, I'm just going to press the display. It is at 78% charged, and I'm going to start with this space heater. It's around 500 watts. Sometimes it's a little lower, sometimes it's higher. This is capable of 600 watts continuous from the inverter, the AC ports, and 1000 watts surge. So I'm not really worried about the surge for these appliances. I also have this fan. You could see the box fan a little over there. I have it already ready on the third setting, so the highest setting, and this outputs about 80 watts. So hopefully we can get as close to 600 as possible without going over. And let's go ahead and start out with the space heater. So I'm going to press the AC port. It's got this nice LED, and let me cover that for you. Alright, the cooling fans just kicked in after it hit about 350, I think, watts. Alright, well this thing is running really slow, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug in this fan. This is going to increase it by about 80 watts, I believe. Alright. And you can see we're keeping at a consistent 500, close to 500 watts. And this is capable of up to 600. So we'll see what else I can plug in here and see if I can get it up. But yeah, looking good so far. All right, so for my last test, I'm actually going to plug the EcoFlow River charger in that could take in a ridiculous amount of watts. I want to see if the BioLite can adapt to what the River can input. And most of the time, the past times I've tried doing this with other solar generators, it has not worked. But I'm going to try it with this one since it has a pretty high continuous output of 600 watts, and it will probably output between 400 to 450 into this one. So let's plug it in, and I want to see how it handles it. AC section. I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but let's see what we could do. All right. go. And that's the EcoFlow that's making all the noise. Now that's the BioLite. Oh wow. 564. So the BioLite's actually really quiet. I mean, it's still like making noise, but the EcoFlow is definitely making a lot more noise. This is more of just like a high-powered fan, but a lot less pressing. I don't know how to say it, but now what's interesting here is that you could see it's saying 568 watts of output, but only 484 of those watts are coming into the system. So I don't know why there's such a huge difference. This cord is not very long. So something's going on to where it's saying it's outputting that much and it's inputting only this much. If you guys know what that could be, let me know. But that's a huge loss of power just from a cord. So I don't think it's the cord. It might have to do with something going on with these, either one or both of these systems. Alright, so I have an interesting test here to try and test these 12 volt 10 amp outlets. And the only cord that I really have that can maybe work with this is this one that came with the EcoFlow River. Now I think this is a DC 5521, and then it connects to one that's like a 5523, so it's just slightly different, but you could see the difference here in these outlets. They're so close together that they work, they input, and they work with the same, they work with this output. So this is a 5521, so I should probably plug the 5521 into this one, and I want to see if it'll output using this little adapter into the this Sherpa power bank, which is, it actually takes a connector similar to this for solar panels. It has a 22 volt max, but this is just a 12 volt outlet, so this is just a random test. I just want to see if this works. If it doesn't, I get why, because this is these are totally different adapters and connectors. So let's see if anything happens here. Oh, and it works. 4 watts, 5 watts of output. Oh, and it's still going. And the Sherpa's battery is almost fully charged, so we're not seeing the full effect of how many watts can come in here, but we're seeing 12, and I'm seeing this little flashing logo. And I don't know what that is. It could be this top part that is also a charger, and I'm not quite sure if that's what's going on here, but we're seeing a slow increase in wattage, output wattage. Oh, we just touched 40 something watts for a sec. I think this has a maximum of a 50 watt input. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what this flashing icon is. I'm assuming it has to do with it's trying to charge this device from its top compartment. But we're also seeing here that the output seems to be working well, and we're getting 32 watts. Now I'm just going to lift this thing up to see if this icon goes away. And it does go away. And it says 32 watts of output, but actually on this power bank it's saying that 34 watts are coming in. Let me see if I can, there you go, you see that on the right? So there's actually more watts coming in than it says here, but that's a really nice amount, and especially since this power bank is almost fully charged, that's pretty cool. Now here I have the EcoFlow River Max on the right, and I'm going to be using the carport output on the BioLite to charge the River Max and see how much power it can output. Now it's at 120 watts maximum, so I'm just going to plug it right in. I'm not going to turn the port on yet. Then we have this connector that goes into the side. let's go ahead and turn on the DC port. There we go. And we have 1 watt of output so far. 84, 93, 130, 140. This might shut down. And it's it. DC port 12 volt disabled. Press port button. DC port overload. So it turned red, and I'm just gonna actually unplug this, and it reset. So sorry about the glare there, but you just saw that it reset, and I guess this is just not able to connect to the river. I've had this happen before, I think, with some other, at least one other power station. So yeah, I don't know why that happened, but I'm not quite sure how else I'm going to do this test. So we will have a rain check on that. So now I just have my Jackery 300 to the right, and then I have the BioLite right here, of course. I'm going to use the Jackery car charger to see if I can get a more realistic number out of it. The EcoFlow it tends to give me weird numbers and just overdo it. So I'm just going to plug it in and see how the Jackery performs. I think the most that it inputs from this car charger normally, like from my actual car, is around 80 watts, and probably around a little less than that. So let's just turn it on and see how it does. I'm going to turn it here so you get both wattages. And this is nice. You get a nice 90 watt output from here. However, and this has been a sort of a consistent theme, the output that is actually being received from the Jackery is 79 watts. So it's getting still a great charge. However, it's not the 90 watts that the BioLite is saying. 79 watts, 90 watts output. So still good, but I'm glad that you got to see that it actually does work with the 12 volt ports. It's just that EcoFlow charger that tends to be weird when I test it. Okay, this last test is charging via the wall charger. This came with the BioLite unit. We could see that it has a 90 watt maximum. Usually it's, I've had 90 watt chargers before for power stations. It's usually not exactly 90, but a little less. So I'm expecting above 80 watts to come out of this. And this is the charging indicator. This plugs into here. And there's a second cable right here where the other connector plugs into the brick. So it's actually pretty long with, we have this and this, so I'm sure you'll be able to charge it from a distance if you need to. But now it's blue. Let's go ahead and plug it in correctly here with the high power port. See if we can get that 90, a little less than 90 watts of input. And right here, looks like we were, I don't know why, sometimes this happens with a lot of different charging tests, but there we go, 88 watts, which is actually really close to 90. So this is, I think, around 100 or 600 watt hours, this entire battery. So, I mean, you're looking at 6 to 7 hours of charge time, 0 to 100%. Yeah, so that's not terrible. And yeah, so there you go. So I'm going to do the LCD screen overview, and I have the manual in front of me, but I could just read the most basic information right here. So I'm going to zoom in, and you'll see the hours to empty here. And if it's charging, you'll see hours to full. And on that note, in the manual here, you can see at number 1, if input watts exceed output watts, the user interface will display hours to full. Conversely, if output watts exceed input watts, user interface will display hours to empty. So what this is saying is that on here, you can do pass-through charging, which means that you can use this as an output to, for example, like a fan or a TV or something. And you could also run it into, like charge it with solar panels at the same time or something like that, because that's what this is inferring. The error code icon, now that's number 5, indicates an error that has occurred, and you should check the message center for additional context. So that's number 5, and that is right here. That would be in the upper right, over there. Now number 6 has to do with over temperature, it sounds like. Too hot, cover your unit if in direct sunlight or take indoors. So that's if you're using it outside. If you see that icon, then you'll know it is overheating. And then let's see what number 7 is. Under temperature, so too cold. All right, easy to know. Number 11, see reset watt hours used. Press to change message center to display watt hours used since last reset. Press and hold to reset energy odometer. Okay, so let's just see how many watt hours have been used. 747 watt hours used. So in your context, if you were to use this, you could see exactly how much watt hours you've used, and you could also reset it if you'd like, if you just press and hold. So I'm not going to reset it, but that's interesting to see that displayed. It's a nice size screen, easy to understand how things turn on and off, plus you have that little message center at the bottom that will just tell you when everything is turned on or off. Plus, when I was testing this, I had an error show up when I was trying to use the car cigarette output, and it basically just told me what was going on. There was an indicator here that flashed red, and I just knew to press the button again, and it was good. So yeah, I like the LCD screen. I think it's a nice addition. So I've taken a look at this manual, and I noticed a few things that I just want to highlight. So I'm going to run through it really quick and just give you my observations and sort of things that I've picked out from here that maybe you would want to know. So it uses a lithium-ion NMC battery. That's pretty typical for most portable power stations. It's lightweight, plus it can output a lot of power. So we also have a regulated 12-volt cigarette lighter output. So that wasn't super clear when I was trying to figure that out earlier, but it says regulated. So you should be good there for 12-volt devices. And then we have a 622 watt hours, which is a pretty large battery, especially for the size of this thing. It's actually not bad. It's pretty small and light for how big the battery is. All right, so there's the battery information. You have the high power port or HPP input, which is just that. It's like a sideways Anderson power pole. The wireless output on top is 10 watts, and I'll just show it to you. I don't know if I think I've shown you guys yet, but that's what it looks like on top, and it just has that little icon that says that it can charge devices wirelessly. So 10 watts, not bad. And then the cycle capacity, which is very important, 80% capacity after 500 full charge cycles, and this is actually right at average. This is what most solar generator companies provide with their batteries. So the charge time to 80%. 80%, I think they do this because that's actually healthier than charging it to 100% every time. I think it just helps preserve the battery, so I get why they're doing this, but you have 7 hours here, and then the cool part is that you could do the AC wall charger with USB CPD and then just half that time, which is really probably the best option if you want to just do a quick charge. And then the peak input from SolarPanel, or from the SolarPanel 100, which is their own solar panel, 6 hours. The only other thing I'm going to highlight from this page is the weight. So 13 pounds for a system that is 622 watt hours is very lightweight. Now, I don't know if it's the lightest available, but just to put that in perspective, the EcoFlow River Max that I own is actually pretty heavy for what it can do. It's 17 pounds and it's only 576 watt hours. So this being this having a larger battery and a lighter overall weight by 4 pounds over the River Max is something maybe you would want to look into if you're looking for something that is more portable and gives you more battery life. and you have the reset button, so if the LCD stops working, you can hold the display button for 10 seconds and reset it. So this is the conclusion of the overall review and test, and now you could see I'm on BioLite's page for the BaseCharge 600. Few things here. You have the price of $700 total. Personally, I think that's it's pretty high of a price. I do know that the battery is pretty large, so I could see how the price would be this high. However, I think that there are a decent amount of systems that are priced lower and might be a better value for you. So my article, it'll be linked below, and I'll compare it with different systems that are similar to this one. There were a few other things here overall. So you have the 1500 model, which is much bigger than this, and the 600, which is the one I reviewed, and the SolarPanel, which is the SolarPanel 100 is what it's called, and this one is retailing for about $400. So definitely these are more expensive power station, like the whole solar generator, solar panel plus the power station. It's going to be higher priced. This is more like goal zero pricing, possibly even Jackery pricing. But then again, BioLite is a pretty well-known company, so like, of course I understand that they're not an up-and-coming brand. They're a pretty well-known brand. However, other than price, which I do think is high, I did like the solar panel. The solar panel, it was a little wobbly because it's so thin. But then again, the thinness also helps out with storage and lightweight, carrying it around. There's some give and take there. It takes a second for you to actually set it correctly, at least during my testing. But once I got it set correctly, then I was able to actually make the right adjustments and get that as much sun as possible into it. From what I remember, I got about, I want to say, somewhere close to 80 watts on my testing days, on one of the testing days. So there were a few things that I could have done to improve that, like clean off the actual base, like the panels themselves. Probably would have added a watt or two to the overall input power, but it's pretty good with the amount of output that it gives. And the other really cool thing is the USB section, which gives you 2 USB-A's and 1 USB-C, which gives up to 45 watts of output. Now that's really cool to have that USB-C, and from my testing it did work very well to charge, I believe, one of my power banks. So that is for the panel. I do like the panel, and yeah, it's pretty lightweight and does the job. As for the BaseCharge, which I already went over, the testing, it's really good for lightweight, and it's not very loud, especially when it's outputting power from its AC ports. A lot of times these systems can get really loud. This one actually was not. It was a steady push of air to ventilate the system and cool it down, but it was not obnoxious, and that's something that stood out to me. The other things that stood out to me have to do the ease of use of it. So you, of course, have that LCD screen, which I'll try and zoom in on here. It doesn't look like you can zoom in, but the LCD screen was actually really effective, and it has that little message board underneath everything that was helpful in just letting me know what was going on with the system, if there was an error or something. So that was cool, and I think especially for someone who's a beginner, this is, even intermediate use of these, what have you, this is very easy to use, especially with these little port buttons, which I'll try and find a closer up image of. Can't seem to find it here, but these little green lights you see on the screen, very easy to see those even when it's really sunny out. I think that's it for this system. I do like it. I wish it was a little lower in price, but I understand that it is a 622 watt-hour battery. It's pretty big. I think BioLite did a pretty good job with this. So I want to thank the people at BioLite. Thank you for helping me review this. I'm really excited to be part of this, and if you guys want more information on the BaseCharge 600, I do have this link below that goes to BioLite, their website, so you can look into it, and if you're if you see this right when it comes out, maybe you could, if you want to sign up for that like bonus gift thing with your system, go for it. But overall, very easy to use. Buttons, directions, everything was very simple. So I do respect that from BioLite. So definitely recommend this if you're into just something portable. If you want something bigger, the 1500 from them is another option. So go and check them out and compare systems, and also check out my article below, which I think you might get a good kick out of. It'll be really in depth about comparing these systems, seeing which one might be the best in this watt hour, 600 watt hour range. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Throw me a like if you got something good out of this, and I hopefully will see you in the next video.